Okay, thank you very much. First of all, we would like to say Ohayo gozaimasu, selamat pagi, greeting from Yogyakarta, my hometown. First of all, thank you for the organizing committee which appoint me to be a moderator of this lecture. And first of all, I would like to say welcome to all participants of this meeting, especially distinguished lecturer, Prof. Tommy Sato Miura and Dr. Iin Kurnia, as well as, of course, Prof. Wahyu Dwianto as chairman of the GSPS Alumni Association of Indonesia, and also I can see here Prof. Yoshio Otani, the director of GSPS Bangkok office, and well, all of participants who attend this meeting. Once again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehat dari Jogja. Sorry, sometimes I use bahasa Indonesia because English is not my language. It's not our language.
Yes,
we are not from the English-speaking country, so we might mix between English, Indonesian, and Japanese maybe in this meeting. And the rundown of or agenda of this 30 meeting, the meeting will be held from 9 o'clock up to about 11:30. We start with the opening speech will be delivered by Prof. Wahyu Dwianto, the chairman of Jaai, and then I hope also Dr. Professor Yoshio Otani to deliver the closing remark. Be patient, please. That will be happen in about 11:15. And then, of course, the presentation consists of two lecturers, Professor Tommy Sato Miura and Dr. Iin Kurnia, and then we try together to make a discussion and give a conclusion of this lecture. Then, well, to save the time, I would like to invite Professor Wahyu Dwianto, chairman of the Indonesian GSPS. GSPS Association of GSPS alumni, ya. GSPS Alumni Association of Indonesian. So please, Prof. Wahyu, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Susilo Widodo. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Good morning, everyone. Ohayo gozaimasu, and selamat pagi. First of all, let us thank Almighty God for the blessing that we can get together today in this event. On behalf of GSPS Alumni Association of Indonesia, or GAI, I would like to extend my warm welcome to all participants, Professor Yoshio Otani, Director of GSPS Bangkok Office, Mr. Sutomu Ikeda, Deputy Director of GSPS Bangkok Office, and the lecturers who have been willing to attend this event. Thank you. I would like to convey to Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, or GSPS, and Dr. Akbar Hanif Dawam, Acting Head of Research Center for Biomaterials, National Research and Innovation Agency, for supporting of this event. GAI was established in the Declaration and Congress of GAI on November 17, 2016 in Cibinong, Bogor, and it formally inaugurated on March 9, 2017 by ceremony of inauguration in Jakarta. GAI is the 17th association among 20 GSPS alumni association in the world. Now, GSPS grew to having 175 members, making it one of the largest alumni association in Southeast Asia. On this occasion, I would like to invite all of you to be a member of GAI. The objective of GAI are to organize symposium, to promote scientific exchange, research and culture collaboration, to give scientific recommendation on science and technology and social services. GAI focuses on food and health, new and renewable energy, environment and related sciences, human and social sciences. Among other activities such as a selection of candidates for GSPS Bridge Fellowship Program, an annual symposium, today GAI conducts the third lecture with the topic of challenges to elucidate the biological effect of low-dose ionizing radiation exposure and their contribution. Besides Indonesian lecturer, Dr. Iin Kurnia from Center for Technology of Radiation Safety and Metrology, National Research and Innovation Agency, we invite Professor Tomisato Miura from Department of Risk Analysis and Biodosimetry, Institute of Radiation Emergency Medicine, Hirosaki University, Japan. Last but not least, I would like to thank Dr. Susilo Widodo, Chairman of Indonesian Nuclear Society, as a host and moderator of this event. Finally, I wish all participants to enjoy this GAI lecture. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof. Wahyu, for your opening speech in this morning. And well, we would like to continue our meeting schedule. This meeting use both Zoom and YouTube. So all of you may monitor this meeting through these two means, Zoom and YouTube. And we don't set a special rule in this meeting, but we may use the common rule. Not so much participants. Please, the host could either keep the mic mute, or maybe if you have the special or spontaneous respond, by quick respond, that you may raise hand or just turn on your mute to be unmute. Then, but this is for the just quick clarification or quick response. And well, for the long discussion, we will have a special time for this for about 30 minutes after the end of all presentation made by our lecturer. Then before this, as the participant has a gather of more than 50%, would you please all of you to turn on the video, because the host will make a photograph, the photo screenshot for all of you. It's right, Prof. Wahyu, yeah. We make
Yes.
we made the screenshot of our participant now, And we might make, if we have time, we might again at the end of the meeting when participants might be in the number of questions increase again.
Okay, I will take a picture. I count from 3. 3, 2, 1. I'm sorry, once. Okay. And then the second layer, please open your camera. Not yet open. Okay, I take it even you haven't opened the camera. Okay, Pak Widodo, I think we will take a picture again.
Okay, thank you. Then, well, we can repeat again at the end of this meeting. Maybe the participant will be more than this morning.
Okay.
That's normal in Zoom meeting that in the early stage the participant is say still a little bit lower, but at the middle and the end of the meeting will be increased, I believe. Well, the participant of this meeting today, the theme of the webinar today is the challenge to elucidate the biological effect of low dose ionizing radiation exposure and their contribution. Well, we might have the question: what's mean the low dose of ionizing radiation? So the low dose is means the 1 sievert. I think no, but maybe low dose means 100 millisievert per annum per year, or 1 millisievert. Just to give illustration to all of you that naturally we receive the dose of about 1 to 2 millisievert in our life in normal condition. This is in Javanese Islands, in Jakarta, Yogyakarta, Surabaya, all cities in Java Island. We receive just only 2 millisievert per year. But in some places in Indonesia, like in Bangka, we little bit get more than 2 or 3 millisievert. Even in special places in Mamuju area in West Sulawesi, we can receive about 9 times higher than in Java. And all over the world, maybe there are some places like in Clara, India, Guangzhou, China, and maybe also in some province, in the US, maybe also have natural high background dose. High means not high dose, but high background dose means maybe yes several times than the normal dose. As may I claim that Java is the reference of normal dose because there are no anomaly of dose in Java, just about 2 millisievert. So I hope that all of us will have the overview of what means the low dose here. And then the next question is the low dose of ionizing radiation harmful to human? Or maybe the opposite of harmful but useful to human and environment? This is the question. This will be answered by all of two lecturer. In fact, there are many places in this globe when the radiation dose naturally higher than normal. Conventionally, we measure or detect radiation dose based on counting of pair of produce count of ioning, because we discuss about ioning radiation here. We not conventionally detect by measuring or counting of the pair of ion produced by ionizing radiation, or analyzes the energy absorbed or energy transferred by radiation, or energy absorbed by the material or the human organ. Unfortunately, that there are not all people wants the measuring instrument all the time. For example, during accident, during radiological emergency, or during accident like in Chernobyl, atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then the latest event is in the Fukuoka Daiichi nuclear reactor accident. Of course, not all people want dosimeter or measuring instrument, but partially they are exposed by radiation. I mean, ionizing radiation. Then the radiation biologists or expert in human dosimeter try to find relationship between radiation dose and Jaai marker in the human body to estimate the radiation dose exposure during accident. They use several markers like the chromosome aberration, that is cytogenetic PUSA, or maybe micronuclei counting, or maybe in fact the DNA damage by the PUSA means or marker. And these two lecturer will be deliver about this issue today. So is Dr. Miura available now? If not, then I would like first to invite Dr. Iin Kurnia. Are you ready, Dr. Iin?
No, sorry. Miura Sensei is already.
Miura Sensei
yes.
Available. Okay, then please, Miura Sensei, give us the lecture, and before you start, I would like to read the curriculum vitae of Professor Miura. The name is Professor Tomisato Miura. The date of birth is on December 27, 1968 in Japan. I don't know in which part of Japan, maybe in Hirosaki or other places. And now his affiliation is in the Department of Risk Analysis and Biodosimetry, Institute of Radiation Engineering, Michigan, Hirosaki University, Japan. The education and professional training, the last training was Professor Institute of Radiation Emergency Medicine at Hirosaki University. Oh, sorry, this is the status of the latest status of Professor Miura. now is the professor of Institute of Radiation Emergency Medicine in Hirosaki University. And the current activity, he make a research on cytogenetic biodosimetry, radiation biology, and cytogenetic studies on occupational and medical radiation exposure. Professor Miura has received many awards, both in Hirosaki University as well as from outside the university. The latest award was the Aomori Apple Medal. And before this, also in this year, we got Matsushima. Sorry, I am not so clear. Yeah, Matsushima Horticultural Development Foundation Incentive Award, and many other before this. So the time is very important. So I would like to give all the time to Prof. Miura. Please, you have 45 minutes for lecture.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Tsushiro. I would like to share my presentation for a lecture. Can you see my presentation?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Okay, I will start my presentation. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Tomisato Miura, Institute of Radiation Medicine, Hirosaki University, Japan. I would like to thank Dr. Yin and Professor Ryu giving me the opportunity to have a lecture on Jaai Symposium. It is a great honor for me to be able to give a lecture at this symposium. I was given the theme of the application of biodosimetry and the learning from Fukushima Daiichi nuclear tragedy in the lecture of this symposium. 10 years have passed since the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant accident. For 10 years, we have to face various inhabitant issues. Today, I would like to share with you what we have learned based on our experience in Fukushima. My major subject is cytogenetic biodosimetry in radiation emergency medicine. As you know, karyotype is specific to each organism and stable. However, it is known that chromosomal change occur in carcinogenesis and congenital chromosomal abnormalities, such as Down syndrome. Radiation is also one of the factors that induce chromosomal abnormalities. Ionizing radiation induces double-strand DNA breaks. In most of double-strand DNA break repairs normally. However, in the process of repairing double-strand DNA break, chromosomal aberrations such as Dyson chromosome, ring chromosome, and chromosome translocation occur due to chromosome reconstruction in the wrong combination. Since these chromosomal aberration frequency correlate positively with the absorbed dose, it is possible to calculate the absorbed dose from dose response curve, like this. In this slide shows a summary of 4 assays on cytogenetic biodosimetry. dicentric chromosome assay is the gold standard in biodosimetry. However, this assay is generally used for dose assessment in recent exposure. Of the 4 assays, the chromosome translocation assay is an effective method for retrospective analysis of all exposure. Translocation assay is also effective for dose assessment of chronic exposure. Differences in effective scenario between assays are due to the biological half-life of chromosome abnormalities. We applied biodosimetry technique for various studies, including Fukushima activities. Magnitude 9.0 earthquake struck on March 11, 2011, followed by a recorded high tsunami that struck the Pacific Coast Ocean of Japan. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant lost power for the cooling system, and the temperature rise caused a meltdown and a hydrogen explosion. The explosion released large amount of artificial radioactive materials such as radioactive iodine and radioactive cesium into the environment. On March 12, when the hydrogen explosion occurred, unfortunately, northwesterly wind blew and a large amount of released radioactive material was carried on the direction as shown in this figure. In addition, the evening rain caused a radioactive plume to fall to the ground. At that time, 21,000 inhabitants lived in Namie town. Here, on March 12, the Japanese government ordered evacuation outside of the 30-kilometer radius, and about 8,000 residents evacuated to the area shown in this figure here, which is outside of 30-kilometer radius. At this time, residents and Namie government officials did not know that the air dose rate in the area was high. The evacuated residents stayed in this area until March 15. After that, the residents who were informed that the evacuation area had a high dose became strongly anxious about the health effect of the radiation. As shown in the chart, the problem faced by the inhabitants have changed over the course of the accident. Initially, evacuation and resumption of the life at the evacuation site. Next, anxiety about radiation health hazard and decontamination and of hometown and selection of return after decontamination is completed. Currently, the reconstruction and revitalization of the region is the issue. 1,000 people have returned to Namie town, where 21,000 people lived before the accident. In addition, 1,000 workers involved in the decontamination registered as a resident. Hirosaki University has response to this challenging issue. We applied our experience in scientific biodosimetry and developed activity for various tasks. To reduce the anxiety about radiation health hazard, we conducted radiation effect study in wildlife and chromosomal test on evacuated children. I would like to introduce 4 topics in this lecture. First, studies on wild animal living in Fukushima. Second, health management of worker involved in Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant restoration work. Third, population biodosimetry in evacuees. And last topic is increment of Dyson chromosome after sinus CT scan analysis. The first topic is studies on wild animal living in Fukushima. The accident released a large amount of radioactive material into the environment. The released radioactive material are thought to affect the organism that lives in the surrounding environment. And it is expected that the effect of radiation on the organism will continue for the time being even after the dose rate decreases. From the perspective of risk management and environmental conservation, it is important to evaluate the impact of radioactive contamination using these environmental indicator organisms. We have been conducting biological impact assessment and environmental assessment. The aim of this project is accumulation of lack of knowledge in low dose related radiation exposure on health effect, and sharing information with resident and local government. And this is very important to reduce anxiety of evacuee. And establishment of environmental index for the return to resident. This photo was taken when I first visited Namie town in 2011. The entry was restricted by the disaster countermeasures-based law, and only authorized persons were allowed to enter. The scale of the earthquake and tsunami remained. In some area, the ambient dose rate exceeded the upper limit of our dosimeter. In this dosimeter showed over. And we saw livestock and animals left behind. This is a research team at that time, and this is me. The current member have changed, with some member moved to other university. As a wildlife survey, I will first introduce the analysis of wild mice. We have been investigating large Japanese field mice, Apodem speciosas. The Sherman trap have been illustrating large Japanese field mice study. And after capturing the wild mice in living, the spring is collected from the captured mice and cultured for chromosome analysis. At that time, there is no facility and electricity for sampling from mice, so we collect mice sample in the luggage compartment of car, under the bridge, and bicycle parking pod. The International Commission of Radiological Protection, ICRP, has established 12 types of standard animal and plant that serve as environmental indicator. Then it was proposed in ICRP publication 108 to evaluate the environment from the analysis of these model animals. These model animals contain rat, the derived concentration reference level, DCRL, of rat are 0.1 to 1 milligram per day. And DCRL has a very low probability of effect as a human living environment. But it is a level that need to be considered. We implant the compact radio dosimeter, glass dosimeter on the back of wild mice captured at 3-point Omaru, Ide, Tanashio in Fukushima. And we release them at the captured point. And then recapture them to analyze the absorbed dose to wild mice. The absorbed dose of mice was lower than the radiation dose rate and ambient dose rate on the ground surface. And the absorbed dose was about half of that of the ground surface. The difference is supposed to be due to the mice spending half of the day in underground nest. The dose rate obtained from the absorbed dose to mice corresponds to the DCRL in Omaru and Ide area. This area is still designated as a difficult to return area. As a result of culturing wild mice spermicide and analyzing the chromosome, the incidence of cells with chromosome abnormalities decreased year by year. However, no Dyson chromosome, which are characteristic chromosome aberration induced by radiation exposure, was found. Only chromatin type and chromosome type abnormality was observed. On the other hand, Dyson chromosomes have been observed in raccoons and Japanese macaque. Therefore, we captured mice near Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, which have a higher dose rate. That ambient dose rate in the area range from 30 to 100 microsievert per hour. But no Dyson chromosome were observed. From this result, it is speculated that the type of chromosome abnormality induced by radiation exposure and their susceptibility are different between animals. Next, I would like to introduce chromosome translocation study in Japanese macaque. Japanese macaque have a lifespan of 25 to 30 years and omnivorous. They live in forest and breed seasonally. It is also important that radio sensitivity is close to that of human, and that the genetic background is heterogeneous. In addition, the genome has been decoded and the genetic information is available. Japanese macaque can be targeted for extermination as harmful animals that damage agricultural products. In this study, we analyzed Japanese macaque that were exterminated as a vermin. Japanese macaque chromosome and human chromosome have high homology, and most of chromosomes have the same G binding pattern, same chromosome. In human chromosome translocation analysis, chromosome 1, 2, and 4 analysis. However, since chromosome 2 of Japanese macaque is composed of human chromosome 7 and 21, we targeted chromosome 3 instead of chromosome 2. The photo on the right is a fish-stained image using a whole chromosome painting probe for human chromosome. 1 and 3 and 4. You can see that the Japanese macaque chromosome is clearly labeled with human chromosome probe. Japanese macaque are captured in so distinct near first to the Pacific Ocean in Fukushima Prefecture, the Minamisoma City, Iitate Village, and Namie Town. We captured the Japanese macaque. As a control area, we have been provided Japanese macaque sample from Miyagi Prefecture and Niigata Prefecture. Here, I will show you the chromosome translocation image observed in the blood of Japanese macaque. In the left metaphrases, left photo, chromosome 1, labeled in red, is reciprocally translocated with other chromosome, like this. Each part of recombination with DAPI, stained chromosome. Chromosome translocation is detected by the color combination junction in this way. In the middle and right metaphrase, you can see complex chromosome translocation in the center of cells. Chromosome translocation occurred between 3 chromosomes, chromosome 1, chromosome 4, and others. In the right cell, insertion is observed in addition to translocation between chromosome 1 and 4. This is the insertion area. The graph shows the frequency of chromosome translocation in the blood lymphocyte of Japanese macaque captured in various places. Individual differences in the translocation frequency are observed in each area. Comparing the so-so area, Iitate, Namie, Minamisoma, in Fukushima Prefecture with the control area, the frequency of chromosome translocation is significantly higher in Japanese macaque captured in Fukushima Prefecture. There was no significant difference in the translocation frequency among Minamisoma City, Namie Town, and Iitate Village in so-so area. Analysis of chromosome translocation in human peripheral blood lymphocyte has reported an increase in the spontaneous frequency of age-dependent manner, like this. We plotted the result of translocation frequency of Japanese macaque captured in Fukushima as a red dot. And the control area is shown in the gray dot. Among the individuals in Fukushima Prefecture, individuals with high frequency of translocation are observed even at a young Japanese macaque, which is considered to be the effect of radiation exposure. Furthermore, we compare the frequency of spontaneous translocation in human peripheral blood lymphocyte with the frequency of translocation in Japanese macaque peripheral blood lymphocyte repeated in this study. Japanese macaque in the control area shows the same or lower frequency as the spontaneous frequency of human, except for 2 individuals, like this. On the other hand, many Japanese macaque captured in Fukushima prefecture showed a higher value than the spontaneous frequency of translocation of humans, like this. Furthermore, we compare the relationship between the elapsed time since the Fukushima accident as the frequency of translocation and the frequency of translocation. The graph shows the individual captured in Fukushima prefecture, only Fukushima prefecture. After the accident, the frequency of translocation tend to decrease over time. The Fukushima University Research Group reports that the environmental half-life of radioactive cesium concentration in the environment is 3.2 years. The half-life of chromosome translocation in the Japanese macaque population in social area was 4.4 years, a little bit longer than the environmental half-life of the radioactive cesium. In the summary of wild animal study, the frequency of chromosome translocation in Japanese macaque captured in Fukushima was significantly higher than that in the reference area. It is possibly caused by chronic low-dose radiation exposure. The translocation frequency tends to increase in a dose rate dependent manner. Chromosome radiation frequency decreased with time since the accident. This might reflect some from the environmental restoration, such as the decreasing environmental ambient dose rate. This means that health risk of low dose rate chronic radiation exposure decreases with the recovery of the environment, which leads to the reduction of anxiety among the affected residents. It can also be an important scientific basis for risk communication after nuclear disaster. Next, I would like to introduce second topics, health management of worker involved in Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant destruction work. After the accident, many workers were dispatched to treat the contaminated water and support restoration. With the cooperation of the company that dispatched the workers, we conduct blood tests and chromosomal tests before and after dispatch as part of health management. This table shows the result of blood test. No significant change were observed in the red blood cell count, white blood cell count, platelet count, or each white blood cell fraction, and no health hazard due to support work was observed in hematological test. Similarly, blood chemistry results do not change after support activity. Also, gamma GTP value is higher than the reference value. It is considered to be due to the drinking alcohol habitat, because it is also high before and after dispatch. And this table shows Dyson chromosome frequency and estimated dose. This is a physical dose. On the other hand, estimated dose were at background level for all 11 workers analysis. On the other hand, the exposed dose of one doctor, D1, was estimated to be 23.3 by Dyson chromosome assay. The result of external exposure dose measured by this doctor's personal dosimeter and internal exposure dose measured by whole body counter was calculated to be 1 milligray and 11.3 milligray, respectively. The total exposure dose from the biological dose assessment and the physical dose assessment was almost same. From the above result, it is confirmed that the exposure dose of worker was properly controlled and that biodosimetry was also effective in health management. Next, I would like to introduce third topics, population biodosimetry in evacuees. Residents of Namie town were worried about the health hazard of radiation because they evacuated to high-dose area. To reduce their anxiety, Namie local government asked us to examine chromosome ablation. The photo shows a temporary clinic used as a blood collection site and the explanation of informed consent. This is Professor Yoshida. He is a former professor in my laboratory. Approximately 2 years have passed since the accident. So the endpoint was chromosome translocation, and the subject were children under the age of 19 at the time of the accident. After collecting blood in Fukushima Prefecture, blood was transported to Hirosaki University about 400 kilometers away, and preferred blood mononuclear cells were isolated and cultured. After the culture was completed, chromosome metaphase spread were prepared, and the fluorescence probe for labeling 1, 2, and 4 chromosomes were hybridized for translocation analysis. And the fluorescence image was obtained like this using this equipment. 7 experts from 4 facilities participated in the analysis. By fish stain, we can easily identify chromosome 1, 2, and 4, and detect chromosome translocation as a color junction, as shown in the right photograph. In this graph, blue circle indicates translocation frequency, and red line indicates global background of human population. The translocation frequency increases age-dependent manner in global background. As a result of chromosome translocation analysis, some translocation were observed with high frequency, but there was a background such as that these children were undergoing CT scan examination. The problem with this study was that a background frequency of Japanese population of the same age was unknown. Therefore, we asked to the children in Hirosaki City to cooperate and analyze the translocation frequency by the same method. The closed red circle shows the frequency of chromosome translocation in children in Hirosaki City, which is a control area. From this comparison result, it became clear that many of the children in Namie town were comparable to the control area and the spontaneous frequency level. In the chromosome translocation test, 769 people applied for participation. We analyzed 62, children, excluding those who could not draw blood and those who had poor cell division. Furthermore, as a result of reanalysis and recruitment, we analyzed a sample of 783 people as a final total number of people and reported it to the Namie local government and parent of children. Namie local government and a parent of children who participated in the chromosome translocation test commented, anxiety was reduced for the health effect of radiation. So some children shed big tears during blood sampling. I still remember the sound of those tears falling on the tatami mat. I never forget the tears with the children shed during the blood draw. As the blood collection site for chromosome translocation analysis, I was very surprised by the comment from the female staff who had been sent to Namie from other prefecture. She said, they cannot have children, right? Oh, poor thing. At that time, the next generation effect of radiation were not properly understood. This graph shows the degree of understanding of the next generation effect of radiation on Fukushima residents. The percentage of people who did not understand correctly was 60.2% in 2011, but the degree of understanding increased year by year. Misunderstanding year by year. And in 2014, the percentage decreased to totally 38%. However, the decline has stopped. Poor understanding is a major social problem since incomprehension causes discrimination. Therefore, Japanese government has started a new project, Google project, to raise awareness of the effect of radiation. The last topic is increment of Dyson chromosome after single CT scan. The frequency of use of computed tomography, CT scan examination is increasing year by year. However, the risk of leukemia and brain tumor in children, which CT scan is being discussed. Therefore, in order to clarify the risk of CT scan, we collect the preferred blood of patient from the patient before and after CT scan and analyze the frequency of Dyson chromosome. As a result, I was revealed that the frequency of Dyson chromosome decreased significantly after single CT scan examination. We followed the same patient for 3 years to confirm the induction of Dyson chromosome by a single CT scan. The frequency of Dyson chromosome induced single CT scan are in the first, second, and third years. From this, we were able to confirm that a single CT scan test induced the Dyson chromosome. Interestingly, when comparing the frequency of Dyson chromosome before CT scan each year, the frequency of Dyson chromosome did not increase. This means that CT scan induced unstable chromosome aberrations such as Dyson chromosome do not accumulate in the body. This is a summary of CT scan study. A single CT scan induces Dyson chromosome, but chromosome abnormal aberration do not accumulate. Therefore, also the health risk is estimated to be very small. It is recommended to reduce the dose. Here, I compare the radiation exposure in the contamination area of
jam 10, tapi kayaknya udah hampir habis. Kita biarkan aja ya.
Fukushima and CT scan. The ambient dose rate in Fukushima is 0.3 to 30 microgram per hour. On the other hand, in CT scan, the dose rate is 60 milligram per hour, which is 2,000 to 20,000 times higher than that of Fukushima. CT scan is not low dose rate. Here is a summary of what I learned from Fukushima. Victims are worried about the health effect of radiation, but after the Fukushima accident, there was a lack of activity to reduce the anxieties. Low awareness of the genetic and next generation effect of radiation caused discrimination among victims. In addition to estimating the dose of exposed patient, biodosimetry can contribute to reducing the anxiety of the victims. Single specifier was not enough to deal with radiological accident. Comprehensive team strength is required for post-accident investigation and support for residents. I hope that the novel coronavirus pandemic will end and active bilateral exchange will resume. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Miura Singse. Very comprehensive presentation. You make a chromosome aberration study on the evacuated both children with animal and management worker, and then you compare with the single CT scan examination, which actually the dose is much more higher. And based on this result, then you make conclusion that this study will make less worry to the people, less anxiety, less worry to the people. Before you make study, people make a big question: how much our dose received during the accident, and then you make clarification and you make clear to the people that the dose is very, very low compared one single CT scan examination. Thank you very much. And please, if any question from participant on this meeting, write down here and then keep bring in the discussion session later. The next presentation, I would like to invite Dr. Iin Kurnia. And let me read the curriculum vitae of Dr. Iin Kurnia. He is born in Agam, West Sumatra, in 13th of July, 1967. He is married. Of course, the gender is male, Indonesian. And then, what is works experience? He started the study on the Indonesian Human Reference Batan in 1993 up to 1995. And then he worked on organ transplantation in monkey in Indonesian University in 1998. Study on Agenor. This is PERA. What is PERA in English? Agenor is proliferation marker in cervical cancer. And then study in MIP1 as proliferation marker in cervical cancer again. Look likely he is like the cervical cancer. He has interest in cervix cancer. And then study on Agenor MIP1 as a marker proliferation also. Then study on P53 apoptosis. That's major failed protein. Well, it's very complete on study on, and then study on gamma H2EX 40 expression in high background radiation resident and radiation worker. And then study on gamma H2EX 40 expression in reactor worker. This is health undertakes since 2020. And then he joined also in the national project coordinator of TC 9029 IAEA 2020-2021. Also study of gamma H2AX 40 expression in lung cancer. Also the IEA CRP 21042 since 2017. And his education was in PhD program in Department of Radiation Oncology, Gunma University, Japan. And yes, in the professional work history, I will mention the last work is in the research in radiology group leader on Center for Technology of Radiation Safety and Metrology, National Research and Innovation Agency. And well, we got training also. And the latest training was Middle Scientist course, Indonesian Institute of Science in Jakarta. And also before that, he joined a workshop, PCR-based technique in cancer diagnostic, stem cell and cancer institute, also in Jakarta. Well, this most of the curriculum of Dr. In. To save the time, please, the time is yours now.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Susilo. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good morning for everyone. Are you guys Miura Sensei? Thank you for your. When I present here, like compare between ant and elephant. So that the condition, and then thank you very much for Yusio Otani Sensei from GSPS Bangkok, Dr. Sutomo Ikeda from GSPS Tokyo, and Mr. Chikoko Doi, GSPS Tokyo. I hope in this lecture I can present about the loudest radiation exposure and update study in Indonesia. As we know, different with previous presentation from Miura Sensei, we are in Indonesia have focusedly to first, I think very important to introduce the condition to all the audience, maybe to national audience also, because BRIN or Batan, previously Batan, have a center office in Kuningan, Jakarta, Pasar Jumat Nuclear Center, and Yogyakarta Nuclear Center, Bandung Nuclear Center, and Serpong Nuclear Center. And also we have research exploration area facility in Kalan, West Kalimantan. If we talk about reactor, until now, we have 3 reactors. Trigamar 2 reactor location in Bandung, Kartini reactor location in Yogyakarta, and CYBC reactor location in Serpong, Tangerang. Next. If you talk about radiation exposure, we will imagine what happened inside. First, actually, we can let's from the name background radiation from radon gas, from the drink, from cosmic ray, artificial salt, and something building a ground. And the other radiation exposure also will be never we got lift it from them if we can if we do as diagnostic and therapy. For example, in Ronsen, CT scan on also radiotherapy cancer. So we compare exposure in this source. Fatal expression in one week 10 severe, 6 severe like in Chernobyl, 5 severe like in express area in Elmon, and a single severe will be sickness and nausea.
Dr. Iin,
Also, radiation exposure will be fatal effect for thyroid gland, lungs, red blood cells, stomach, small red intestine, and bone marrow. Symptom radiation effect.
Dr. Iin, could you please make a full screen?
Okay,
Yes,
full screen.
I
Okay.
show, please.
Full screen. Wait a moment, please. Full screen. Okay, sir. Can full screen?
Sure, yes.
Yes, okay.
Now, okay.
So that if you talk about nausea vomiting will be happen from in 6 hours, and then diarrhea, headaches, primary symptom, weakness, hair loss, and ATC. This is something radiation exposure what Melbourne in Japan. So after that, we focus to discussion about low dose exposure, because in this case we will focus what happened in our condition, in our body, and or in exposure from by low dose exposure. Low dose radiation exposure is ubiquitous in our environment. On medical radiation from like X-ray, nuclear medicine, and mean dose 3.0 millisievert per capita per year in Western countries, similar to radical exposure 150 chest X-ray. Approximately 30 million workers are professionally exposed to radiation, and these, the interference fluoroscopists, in that cardiologists and neurologists, and among the most exposed. In fact, the annual exposure is equivalent to 5 millisievert per year that will lead to project lifetime cancer 1 in 100 after 20 or 30 years onward. Say Mariditi et al. 2012. In Indonesia, I think like Mr. Susilo told before, basic of the idea of our lecture, best is how about Indonesia? Indonesia, Bapeten as a national regulatory of atomic, clarifies the radiation in Japan. The below radiation dose 10 millisievert a year. In Indonesia, 1 millisievert a year for general people in a year. But for radiation worker, 20 millisievert for 5 years, but not exceed 50 millisievert in years. That is the basic regulation now still used in Indonesia. If you compare about the condition in the USA, the exposure of radiation from cosmic ray, natural radionuclides, subtotal 2.34. In medical procedure, the Morse, at least nuclear reactor was and so the cells fall out and subtotally 5 total 5.636. Now, from some study, Dole and Peto, 1981, declared that 0.5% cancer death were attributed to diagnostics X-ray in USA about 30 years ago. Instructed increased contribution of nuclear power plants worldwide and subsequently potential nuclear accident, occupational radiation exposure, frequent flyer list. Man exploration possible radical terrorism have made loudest research more imperative and undergone nowadays and before. In this mean, because increasing of nuclear installation and etc., the research of low-dose radiation exposure more imperative. From the data about from Ainsbury, Curtis, and Busby, radiation exposure also correlated with cataract, cardiovascular disease, and long-term physiological consequences. But this data, this statement still needs more extensive research. Before we discuss about low-dose exposure radiation effect, there are some terms we need to know. First, the energy loss per unit, or LET, and then RBE, and then LET. In LET means land energy loss per unit in distance as ionizing particle or X-ray transfer through material known as linear energy transfer. Linear energy transfer is to quantity that affect ionizing region umbilical sample specimen and varies depending on the speed and charge of the kind radiation. RBI, relative radical effectiveness, is defined as a ratio of dose of standard radiation to dose test radiation to produce the same biological effect. Next, the biological radiation effectiveness can withstand high light radiation and low light radiation. For example, high light radiation alpha, beta, and low light is X-ray and gamma ray. For high and low light, the energy is always go to the target, but the loss from the way the energy is so low. But for highlight, the highlight track, so it means corresponding 1 gray and 4 track. Then after that, we need to know this classic concept about the effect radiation. The effect radiation to the human body, I mean, first deterministic and second stochastic. In the deterministic aspect, effect appear at which use the threshold. Then the severity of effect that increase with the dose. It means if the dose increase exposure to us, the effect will be also increased. For stochastic effect, there are no threshold and probability of the effect increase with the dose. And this means some period of latent case. This is the base of classical theory that maybe majority have also used in radiation biology until now. For direct or the body, we also know about the direct and indirect radiation. Direct radiation, for example, from gamma ray, X-ray, will broken the DNA helix. Indirect radiation effect, X-ray or photon will make some reactive particle more molecular active, and then reactive particle will broken the DNA helix from the Mosby 2002. For direct action, like from alpha and neutron, high energy also directly broken the chain of DNA. For indirect, for example, from X-ray and gamma ray, they make a photon, and then also make a free radical like OH min, OH plus. Then the free radical will break the DNA. This case happen on low light radiation. For example, strand break is mean the DNA to change DNA will be broken strand breaks like this. Single strand break, it means only one strand break was broken by radiation exposure. Double strand break, extrusion of DNA will be broken. And then what happened after radiation exposure in our bodies? In physical time, 10 minutes 14 seconds, the change on physical. After that, physical chemical from 10 minutes 14 to 10 minutes 12 seconds. Then change to chemical process from 10 minutes 12 and 10 minutes 7. And then the process also changed to chemical and biological repair from 10 minutes 7 and 10 seconds. And after that, biological effect from 10 seconds to 10 hours. And then will be appear clinical effects can start from hours, days, weeks, months, years, and also intergeneration. If you closely to them affected from radiation exposure, first, if only the damage a can of base change, it's mostly perfect repair. If base removal, loss of base of DNA, still perfect repair. Single strand breaks, perfect repair. But if we DNA double strand break, perfect repair or imperfect repair. And this is a potential to mutation, and mutation that's the embryo for carcinogenesis and cell death. If very complex damage, cell will be dead. This is classical concept, radio sensitivity and radio from the tissue. If you focus to the effect of radiation sensitivity in our bodies, very sensitive like bone marrow, spermatogonia, and increment intestine from our intestine. It means bone marrow, sperma, and intestine high sensitive for radiation exposure. Next, high precursor hematological cell, a mild endothelial cell like fibroblasts, relative low sensitive liver, kidney cell, and saliva gland. And low radiation sensitivity, it means nearly radio resistant like cell neuron, red cell, and muscle cell. Consequently, the effect radiation to our body is also depend about the dose, RBE of radiation, type of exposure, external or internal, uniformly or a part of body, dose rate, distribution throughout the body in case of internal exposure, and cell tissue organ radiosensitivity. It means the effect of radiation, if we exposure from ionizing radiation, the condition of cell, tissue, and organ sensitivity is very important to be considering. And then effect radiation will be appear maybe from hours, years, somatic, gem, and also deterministic and stochastic. And then some exposure, red bone marrow, affect acute radiation syndrome from 3-4 gray, intestine 8 to 6 gray, skin 3 gray, soft tissue 25 gray, ovary 3-10 gray, testis 6 gray, lungs 8 to 10 gray. That is a kind of reference for radiation biology about how the effect, what can the effect, and about acute radiation syndrome or clinical radiation syndrome. Fesserman make a new theory that published in 2018. He classified low dose and high dose. In low dose, he proposed in our body there's some activation of antioxidant system, then also adaptive immune response, then stimulant, apoptosis, autophagy, head shock protein, and process repair. In high dose, free radical regeneration, the DNA double-strand breaks, genome instability, and immunosuppression. So, by Fesserman theory, they need a kind of border to radiation can make a kind of probably dangerous effect on our body. He proposed from 100 to 200 millisievert. So Fisherman proposed that if you only expose from low dose radiation exposure, it means there are some event on our body. First, activation of antioxidant system, adaptive immune response, apoptosis or autophagy, heat shock protein, and repair induction. So it is the embryo for the theory that whatever the stochastic effect from radiation still have the dose to appear. Shaparov 2019 also explained about antioxidant. After exposure, the some antioxidant will be appear, and max antioxidant will be make the effect radiation will be decreased and maybe no effect. For example, antioxidant will be activize the some enzyme and makes the it means to gauge the free radical. So the effect to the DNA will be decreased or maybe cannot affect it. And then Timothy F. Bond 2017, he proposed if we exposure from low dose radiation, the activity a kind of head shock protein. Head shock protein makes the cell will be not broken, and I think he proposed that the effect of radiation still can be cannot be happen on our cell. And then Jack Nikolov 2017, he proposed that something happen if we exposure from low dose radiation. It means, for example, some process like repair will be happen, so genome will be stable, and also he proposed that cell cycle stop and something apoptosis and ATC. So from this proposed Nikolov mechanism still will be happen if we exposure low dose exposure from to our body. And next Fisherman also study about mortality effect on radiation worker. From his study, compare from some medical worker and non-radiation worker. He still from his data published in an international journal of 2018. He have not found about the radiation worker mortality effect on radiation worker compare the reference or normal people. Even though there are something a little bit increase, but still non-statistically different. And then after that, we focusly about the concept biomarker. Biomarker as a system, a defined measurement of lactic interaction between biological system and environmental agent, which can be chemical, physical, or biochemical. Like present before by Miura Sensei, there are something biomarker can be used to analyze to assess the effect radiation. For example, Miura Sensei dicentric assay, micronucleus assay, and DNA. These three biomarker, especially chromosomal dicentric chromosome, is have golden standard for access the dose radiation that exposure to the bodies, and also micronucleus and DNA. After that, we focusly what we have do in Indonesia. As we know, until now Indonesia have not nuclear power, and Indonesia only have our nuclear for peace, for research, like in Bandung, Jogja, and Serpong. And especially, but very specially, we have the area in West Sulawesi that high background natural radiation exposure. This condition from the Saiful et al. That published in Optom Indonesia 2014. The dose reach of until reach the 1014 nanosievert per hour. Very interesting. Then it means in this case, this condition also have done with also with Hirosaki University. We have joint research, but like Miura Sensei told before, because the 2 hours of COVID pandemic situation, maybe the activity of the research influence it. From the study Mamuju, as or published in Journal of Environmental Activity, gamma is to act as a marker for the baseline rate. Before, we have explored from some part of Mamuju Island. We compare between high background area and low background area. It means control. From our data, from our paper, found that from high background area or exposed area, gamma is to act as the baseline rate marker, higher, almost significant in exposed compare control area. But if we compare about the exposed and control area between men and women, almost the same. Men always consistently higher compared to women, both in exposed area and control area in Mamuju. In this case, we propose gamma is to act as a biomarker, not only can use as the DNA baseline biomarker, but also can be used as a repair biomarker. And also this hypothesis is also agree with some people from high background area in Iran or maybe in China. And then from our correct publication, there are positive correlation between 55 BP1 micronucleus and gamma is to act. Published on Atom Indonesia 2019. And also some part of the area in Mamuju, in high exposed area, micronucleus also then high. But this sample not so confer all area, but we found that from Ramadhani publication Atom Indonesia 2018. And also the same with the result from Nur Hayati publication 2016. But if we compare from other data, the micronucleus even though high but still in normal area, normal range. If you analyze with the other marker for DNA damage, we found a little bit higher in background exposed area than control area. But if the correlation with the doses still not significant. This published by Darlina and Raharjo, International Journal of Radiation 2016. An interesting phenomena from the people also, in radioresistant area, there are dominant proline coding allele, tumor processor, tumor gene suppressor protein P53, higher in exposed area than control area. Maybe it's also makes why in people in exposed area resistant to radiation. But this research should need to confirm again with the more sample and more observation. But at least from this publication, maybe some change in tumor processor protein P53 makes the people resistant to radiation exposure. And then from publication Mr. Saifuddin and in RAM, Radiation Information in Hirosaki, 2018 and Purnami 2020, also find no significant effect DNA damage between high background and control area. In this theory, some research from other country propose that some adaptive, some process or repair in exposed people in Mamuju compare the control area. But this still need to collaboration to verification with more data. Even though some research from correct from Hirosaki University, they also assess about the habit of the people in Mamuju. High dose radon, for example, only came from the body in the day. Some people in day go to field, go to work. So why they didn't expose from radon, for example? But this is still informal discussion with some expert from Hirosaki University. If we compare with problem DNA effect in medical worker, this research was conducted the same with previous research. Batan Renstra from 2015 and 2019. In that Renstra, we focusly observe about the effect of DNA and other biomarker from Mamuju and medical worker. We focusly the medical worker in this along 5 years. After 2020, we focus to reactor worker. But the problem, as we know together, pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic also had influence for our activity. Go to the reactor, go to some field and something regulation to make our research on 2020 is not maximally meant until now. But we hope no cyclist again in Indonesia, and next like Miura Sensei said, the condition will be better and better. We will be focusing on research until we strategic plan research 2024. From our data, we found that medical in workers, gamma has to act as biomarker of repair and DNA damage, high than in control in worker than control, but the statistical still not reached. Also from P51 and GH, and we found that no correlation between gamma is to act damage biomarker as DNA biomarker found no correlation with GH. So then when we have found only positive correlation between gamma is to act and index of 53 BPI. It means normally because DNA damage, it means single strand break on other maybe also the same equally with DNA damage double strand break. That published in Radiation and Environmental Medicine 2019. And then with comment assay, even though DNA in worker high than compared to control, but still normally, and we compare about the hemopoietic parameter. But the research from Nugroho et al. 2019, we found that no significant between worker and medical control. If we observe the parameter hemopoietic, it means that so far we have not found about the different DNA damage between control and medical radiation worker from our research 2015-2019. But very interesting from our last data, we also found almost positive correlation between annual occupational dose and biomarker DNA gamma is to act. It means And if we more dose accumulation dose in worker have potential to more DNA damage in our body, but we still observe more and more what the effect caused by accumulating of free radical in our body or something else. But if we see from the micronucleus and gamma SUX, more lower gamma SUX, negative correlation between gamma SUX and micronucleus assay. It means if the DNA damage not repair, the process in our cell came to format of micronucleus. It means some process in our body before something fatal damage in the cell. Some publication from Darlina and Yanti Lucianti also like that. Next, in our near future research, biomarker DNA damage and adaptive response gamma SUX, comet assay, apoptosis, micronucleus, nuclear worker, insio ABC, Serpong, Tikamat Bandung. Joint research, antioxidant with Hirosaki University, granted by Aaron Collaborative Research from Suguba University, genetic biomarker from Mamuju resident, and biomarker gamma SUX on lung cancer and thyroid ablation, CRP, 10,044 as EIA contract research. And also research challenge, low dose some antioxidant. This are proposed with to next year research collaborative with INBRIN. We will analyze about the low dose and antioxidant activity in our body. As a part of our responsibility to the condition in Indonesia, as we know, almost 1.5 years ago, something contaminated radioactivity in Serpong. We try to make right in compass to make the decrease anxiety for the people. They compare that radioactivity contaminants in Serpong as in Chernobyl, as LTC, as Fukushima. As a scientific responsibility, we write in compass and conversation the different case between Serpong contaminated radioactivity contamination and Chernobyl and LTC. This case on lake in Korea and South America. This is my pathway from 2002 to 2019 in UE, England, and especially in Japan and Germany. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Iin Kurnia. You have delivered a very complete and overview on what means the low dose and the effect to the human especially. And then you also report many research you have done with your group.
Yes.
With some method of marker of patient or marker of people who have received radiation dose, either the low dose or a little bit higher dose. Then now is the time for discussion. We still have, we have 15 minutes behind schedule, but I hope that the participant will be patient if we can extend the time for discussion. We have scheduled for 30-minute discussion, and I believe that will be still can make a discussion for 30 minutes because I hope that the Prof. Otani will be patient to make closing remark after that. Then, first of all, I myself would like to make clarification on of all of you lecture about your study, because in my understanding, this is my long knowledge understanding that for example, the aberration chromosome, the chromosome aberrations will happen with the deterministic threshold. This is my old understanding. But your study mostly I believe this all of your study is below the threshold of the deterministic effect of chromosome aberration. It means that, and you give us so many results here. It's really that now chromosome aberration is changed to the stochastic effect rather than deterministic effect. And this is my basic question. Maybe then we have many questions also and comment in the chat room. Which part of this has been answered also by Prof. Miura, and also some question also to Dr. In. For saving the time, I will give to Dr. Miura, Professor Miura, to give your comment and answer based on the question and answer in the chat room and my question as well. Please, Professor Miura.
Okay, now I'm answering the each questions, and which question I have a priority? Too many, sorry. I answered several questions.
Well, first question is my question, please.
Oh,
Dr.
sorry.
Is the
too long. Sorry.
chromosome aberration is stochastic or deterministic?
Very difficult answer. Difficult to answer. The chromosome aberration analysis is not sensitive. And it is very difficult to evaluate low dose radiation exposure. Yes. However, if there is a chromosome aberration in patient with some organisms, this is a severe incident. Then we can use the chromosome abnormality monitoring or screen for health management or evaluation. Yes, in the IAEA demonstrate or show the dose range of chromosome aberration studies. The most specific Dyson assay is useful between in the dose range from 0.1, 100 millisievert to 5,000 millisievert in the reference method. But if we increase the number of analyzing cells, we can evaluate the more dose range, 100 millisievert below. But that work is very hard. Then, but the very famous doctor in radiation medicine, Professor Akashi, Dr. Akashi said, we have to try or evaluate the dose in the patient who received the low dose. And the patient and their family. And we have to report the dose to the patient and family. If there is no health risk, and they reduce anxiety, then the chromosome aberration study have a very important role to estimate the dose and the reduce anxiety in both. This is I don't know. This is enough answer for your question. but we have to try to evaluate low dose in the cytogenetic assays. Okay.
Okay, thank you. It's clear. And actually, there is a question from Dr. Dani, and you have answered also in the chat room.
Yeah.
But the issue of the CT scan, translocation in the CT scan. And I have further question because you mentioned that all people, patients receive the CT scan previously have chemotherapy.
Yeah.
This is what's the relationship between chemotherapy and CT scan? Because in our knowledge, the CT scan treatment is not always related with cancer, for example. But for example, in Indonesia after COVID, the patient have lung fibrosis, also have CT scan examination, even 2 or 3 times per month to monitor the situation of the lung after this. So please give your explanation.
Okay. In this time, my explanation of the patient, the volunteer who received the CT scan, participate this study, is most of volunteers have tumor history, and they received the radiotherapy and chemotherapy before our analysis. And we asked the patient to provide the blood in our study after that therapy. And they monitored their recovery or safety annually. And they visited the hospital once per year. In that time, we asked them to collect the blood. And after 1 month, they visit the hospital, receive the result of the screening, monitoring screening by CT scan result. And that time, we collect again the blood. And that span is very long. But as you say, the CT scan is used multiply after before therapy or after therapy. Yes, but this schedule is for monitoring. Okay.
Okay, thank you. There are still many other questions. For example, from Prof. Jarod Sulistyo Wisnubroto. I would Prof. Jarod to give a direct question to Dr. Miura because I cannot catch clearly what you mean. Because atomic bomb is very high dose.
Yes.
And Fukushima accident is low dose totally.
Yes.
And then what means the Pak Jarod question? Pak Jarod, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pak Susilo. Of course, the Hiroshima Nagasaki accident is very different with the Fukushima accident. But I think there are some areas that receive low dose also near the Nagasaki, Hiroshima. So there are some data about the effect of the low dose in that area that may be similar with the Fukushima area. Of course, at the center of the Hiroshima is very high dose. Yeah, but I believe at that time the science is different with us now. Maybe there were no scientific data, that very detailed data, the chromosome data. That my question is, do you use the reference of that Hiroshima Nagasaki accident as your reference or not? This is my first question to Dr. Miura. Thank you.
as you said, I also estimate there is low dose exposure in the atomic boom survivor, as you say. But there is no data. And U.S. government and Japanese government constructs foundation for atomic survivors analysis, and they categorized the high dose exposure and others. Then, as that analysis, there is no low dose exposure population categories. Yes. Then the precise data is not exist, maybe. Yeah, but now the dose exposure dose is recalculated, and maybe in near future they can focus on the other categories, low dose exposure populations. I hope.
Yeah, thank you.
Pak Jarod, as we know that during 1945 there was no technology of chromosome aberration still, because of the cytogenetic technology which developed because of the problem of the lack of data from the Hiroshima and Nagasaki accident. As long as you know that the only dosimetry can be done for that event in 1945 is the dosimetry 58, dosimetry 65, but that's all for the high dose to estimate the contribution of gamma radiation and neutron and so on, but not follow those. Then cytogenetic technique, then they develop after that. That's as long as I know. But maybe Prof. Miura can clarify when the beginning of the technique of cytogenetic.
Yes. Yeah, the chromosome analysis technique is expression after 1970.
70, yes.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki Institute performed the chromosome translocation analysis using by G-banding technology. But there is a difference in the ability to analyze the chromosome G-banding aberrations. The intra-institute difference is observed. And then they shift the methodology using a fish technique. Using fish technique, the intra-laboratory differences is reduced. They can normalize the they can compare their own data. But the chromosome aberration analysis and estimated dose is not good correlation, because Dr. said that those estimation is performed in the their memory and geometry. And that data is not good match to the biological responses. But there is some data. They compare the chromosomal translocation and the teeth enamel ESR technique, the dosimetry. Both is
biodosimetry.
Yeah. And there is a good correlation between the both.
Thermoluminescence or something like that.
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Correct. And there is a good correlation. But the number of the analysis is not so much.
Okay, thank you. For time being, please have a look other questions in the chat room, and please prepare your answer. And while waiting I would like to invite Dr. Iin to give comment and to answer some question in the chat room. Please, Dr. Iin.
Okay, Prof. Susilo. With my first answer, you also clarified to me about the chromosomal aberration in medical worker. As our data, even though the maybe micronucleus assay, micronucleus data, and chromosome higher in worker than control, but if we look to the reference data, they are still in normal range. That is because our sample is only to the medical worker, that there are only exposure to occupationally loss, that also monitoring, and also something if they exit, there will be any regulation, they stop. So why maybe our data only for medical worker? If our data also from some accident, nuclear exposure accident, maybe the chromosomal aberration or micronucleus frequency will be higher from in medical worker that accident than control. And also like Miura Sensei said before, if we concern focusly to the chromosome aberration more, maybe we use more than lysentric assay, maybe less translocation and ATC. That maybe will be more near to find the data, because this is will be came to a kind of deterministic chromosomal. Then dysentric as only stochastic, even though they need still rank dose to make that in our body. Second, this is from our data. But so why another hypothesis or theory from Fisherman, he make theory need a border for the low dose exposure or to make the something stochastic, and maybe there's many controversial in publication, but I think it's very interesting to explore, because our body have mechanism or protective, and also have declared more around 10 years ago about hormesis mechanism. So I think very interesting. Like Prof. Miura declared in the last slide. Now, if the condition will be better and better, we will be explore about radical antioxidant and radical free radical in body in worker, especially in reactor worker. It's also to help us to prove that reactor worker or radiation worker saving. We don't need to exchange anxiety about the nuclear. So that my reason. From the question from Dr. Tatin in chat room, do you find a specific cancer from the US topic? Until now, we have no data about that, and maybe because there are suppressing of cancer, need more expert to analyze more data. I think until now we have no the specifically data about that. I think this is the question in chat room, Professor Silo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Iin. Could you clarify what you mean the medical worker? It is radiotherapist which receive higher dose than, for example, people work. And
from our target on Rensra, Batan Rensra, medical worker, we explore from angiography, radiological worker, and also we found from the radiotherapy worker in Darmais, Darmais Hospital. But from until now, we have not found the specific chromosomal aberration or meganucleus and gamma SWEG highly in worker. Even though if you compare without statistic, that can higher, but we hypothesize that still the marker gamma SWEG may be adaptive or responsive, and to the process of repair mechanism of the cell. So from our data, Professor Silo.
What is Dr. Iin? What is the estimate range of those for of them?
Maybe still lower than the recommendation from Bapeten. Still
Pardon?
lower than 20 millisievert a years.
Okay, so this is still below the radiation, the threshold for the
Worker.
limit of radiation
Yes.
worker. 20
Exactly,
mil-
Professor.
Okay, okay. This should be considered really low still. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
And
thank you.
we
Welcome.
would like to back to, please have a look the question again, Dr. in chat room in case there are additional questions to
Okay.
you. And while I would like to invite again Prof. Miura.
One more, please. Sorry.
Prof. Miura, have you any comment or make an additional answer to the question, please?
Now I'm answering the chat, but I received the question about the differences between atomic Hiroshima, Nagasaki atomic bomb and disaster and Fukushima disaster. Dyson estimates there is other concern in both conditions. I agree. And in the Fukushima accident, we learned that risk communication is very important for population or resident. Then, but there is no enough preparedness for risk communication in Japan. Then Japanese government strengthens the establishment of the risk communication party, and including the human resources development. Then, in atomic bombs, in the atomic bomb accident, we don't have any preparedness. But now, after Fukushima accident, we also don't have. There are it is past about 60 years from Hiroshima, Nagasaki, but the Japanese government, the preparedness is not enough for a radiological accident. Yeah, this is very severe problem and difficult for government.
Okay.
Because the radiological accident is not frequent. And many people don't have, they can, the specialists cannot focus only the radiological accident or emergency medicine. But we have to keep our ability or our preparedness, yes, to maintain that staff or status is very difficult to us.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Miura. There is one question from Mr. Boston Sihombing. The question is, are you believe with hormesis effect?
Yeah.
Or maybe adaptive effect of adaptive response of radiation?
Yes,
please, your answer, please.
Yes.
From Susilo, I have two questions from chat room.
Yeah. Yeah, please. But first, please let Dr. Miura give comment on the
Okay.
Yes. Now maybe the low dose exposure induce the adaptation, including the mild, moderate immunoresponse increment. Yeah. I don't know that is same to the hormesis, but many research demonstrates the adaptation. Yes. But for public health, we cannot recommend the low dose exposure, because low dose exposure have several risks. Then if there is adaptation by low dose exposure, we don't officially recommend the low dose exposure in the radiation protection theory.
Yeah, but we have the samples in Mamuju, so let's us work together for Mamuju, so we can have additional data on low dose of radiation. When the COVID
the low dose radiation is one of the factors. The healthy food food intake, or good exercise, or other health custom is much important. And if the resident have a healthy custom, maybe the low dose exposure contributes positively. I estimate. But in Japan, the lifestyle completely changed. We don't work, we take much food, and we don't take much alcohol. This lifestyle is have much higher risk. The total life balance is better. I estimate.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Miura. I would like you one more again for the closing remark, but before that, I would like invite Dr. Iin to answer or to make comment on the discussion and the chat, and also together with your closing remark, please.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Susilo. I will try to answer correctly and rightly. First question about microwave ATC or radiation from microwave. I think this is radiation from microwave, non-ionizing radiation, but still interesting to study, even though from previous study have proof from epidemiological study, but need to do with experimental study. Thank you. It's very interesting because many people with microwave and something non-ionizing radiation like handphone or ATC. Thank you very much. For specially question from Prof. Jarod, what the result of MOU? Question is very special because I know that he is signed the MOU before 3 years ago. For us, the result is many in Mamuju research, and also for me and team in the radiobiology group. In next year, we have a little grant from Tsukuba University with supervised by Miura Sensei to conduct the antioxidant in reactor worker. And hope from the result will be answered what happened in low dose exposure in reactor worker in Indonesia. If we have no collaboration with Hirosaki University, we have not supervised from that. So it means for radiobiological group, besides the Mamuju study, MOU with Hirosaki University is very useful and very valuable for us. Then third question from Dr. Dani. Gamma SWAG compared to other method. For me, gamma SWAG is easy and not take a time and can do with other marker but very other apoptosis and etc. And we will have at least several parameter to analyze. I think this third question. I think the time for me and for my closing speaking as per document from Professor Susilo. Thank you for this opportunity to let us introduce or update research low dose radiation exposure in Indonesia, and we hope an era brain we can join together and with Hirosaki University. If the COVID become clear, our research will be start again and exchange like I used right on last slide. Not only dream. Thank you, Miura Sensei. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. In. Well, the last will be Dr. Miura closing remark, but I would like to invite Dr. Dani. Please, Dr. Dani, please clarify why you disagree with Dr. Miura in the issue of secondary cancer. Please, Dr. Dani.
I'm not disagree. I agree, totally agree. So that's why I wrote cannot agree more.
Oh, sorry. You agree well?
Yeah, I'm totally agree with Professor Miura.
Oh, so okay. Sorry, I wrong.
You misunderstanding.
Your statement.
Yeah, you misunderstanding my words.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, then back to Miura Sensei, please. Your last statement and closing remark.
Oh, thank you very much to invite this symposium. Yeah, our university, Hirosaki University, is collaborating with Batan to analyze the high natural background area and other radiological issues. I hope our joint collaboration research is developed and success in near future, and we can contribute both institute. And I visited Indonesia 2 years ago, and I feel the health management of the resident is not established in some area, including the radiological monitoring. The health management for worker and resident can be established and support enough. And the Batan project, I hope Batan project can push this activity in Indonesia.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Well, now we have finished our lecture, and I have task here, but the time is over. So I have task to make a conclusion. So I would not to make a long conclusion because the time is 3 minutes behind schedule. But I think the most important of this lecture is that the work related to the technique for measurement of radiation dose by using biodosimetry is not merely useful from technical point of view, but also from psychological point of view. Because then, as Dr. Miura said, that after we got the result of the dose estimation, then the people become less worried to reduce the anxiety of the people. And this is very important because the psychological impact is maybe in case of Fukushima is harder than the radiation effect. This is my last statement on this meeting. And well, before we end of this meeting, I would like to invite Professor Yoshio Otani, the director of GSPS Bangkok office, to give closing remark of this meeting. Please, Professor Otani.
Thank you, Dr. Sushiro. Thank you very much for great moderation of this lecture and meeting. It's great. I also thank JAI organization of this lecture entitled challenges to elucidate the biological effects of two low-dose ionizing radiation exposure to their contributions. Professor Miura explained his comprehensive study on biodosimetry after the Tohoku earthquake, which occurred 10 years ago already. And Dr. Kurina introduced consequences of radiation exposure to human beings in Indonesia, I think. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to the lecturers and moderator by presenting the certificate of appreciation. First, certificate to Professor Miura. Wahyu Sensei, would you show the certificate? It's ready?
Oh.
No?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
From Professor Wahyu or Mr. Agus.
Yeah, Agus will be sharing.
Okay, so okay, this is a first certificate going to Professor Miura. Shall I read? Certificate. This is to certify that Professor Tomisato Miura has participated as a lecturer in JSPS Alumni Association of Indonesia Jaai Lecture, challenges to elucidate the biological effects of low-dose ionizing radiation exposure and their contributions on November 23rd, 2021. Director of JSPS Bangkok office, Shotani. Thank you very much for your great lecture. Thank you.
Hakso shimasu.
Okay.
Thank you.
And next certificate to Dr. Lin Kurnia, not Kurina?
Yes.
Kurnia.
Kurnia. Okay.
Kurnia.
Okay. Thank you again. The same sentences. Thank you very much to Dr. Kurnia. Thank you. And the last certificate goes to Dr. Sushiro. Also, thank you very much for the great moderation. Thank you. Okay.
Give a big applause to me.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I say just a few words to close this lecture. As you know, COP26 in Glasgow ended November 13th with the conclusion to limit temperature rises to 1.5 degrees in Celsius and the finalization of outstanding elements of the Paris Agreement in 2015. Moreover, for the first time, COP agreed the position on phasing down unabated coal power. After the speech of new Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida at the COP summit, Japan granted at the Fossil of the Day award, which is not we can proud of, and because he appealed Japan's support to developing countries in Asia that promote power generation using ammonia and hydrogen. I think both coal power and nuclear power technologies are not fully matured, and therefore we need technological breakthrough to make them as a sustainable energy sources. Current trends of global warming force engineers and researchers to find a solution immediately. This would be the last chance for engineers to tackle the zero emission of and also safety of coal power plant and also nuclear power plant, I guess. Thank you very much joining this lecture. Thank you very much to the organizers. Thank you. I return to Dr. Wahyu. Or
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Otani. Actually, you still have 5 minutes more.
Oh, that's enough. Already too long.
It is enough. Then I would like to end also my moderation.
Okay.
And please apologies and give me any mistake. And so thank you very much for all. korekaramo yoroshiku onegai moshi agemas.
Thank you.
And I will give this floor to Prof. Wahyu. Maybe you will make once again the photograph of participant. Yeah. Once again. Okay, please, Prof. Wahyu.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Miura Sensei, Dr. In Kurnia, Professor Susilo, and also Professor Yoshio Tani.
Yes.
And I think it will be better if we take a picture together. Shall we open the camera? Yeah, there are 3 layers. Shall we start it? Open the camera, please. Okay, and then maybe you don't know which one. And the 3rd layer. Okay, finish. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope we will meet again in the next GI lecture, or we will hold GI symposium on March next year. See you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. Terima kasih Bapak-bapak, Ibu-ibu.